WNST Capitals fans know all too well a disappointing Game 1 loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets down at the Capital One Center on Thursday night. Our Ed Frankovic was on the scene. Eddie, you and I, we've been adding up the years now. Is it 33, 34 years you and I have been at this, I think, from the days of Christian and Gartner and Stevens and Langway and Haworth and Locker and the rest. Boy, I'm almost numb, my brother. I am almost numb at this point. When the puck went in the back of the net, my wife and I, who had been at a Casey Cares function with Coach Billick as well as Lisa Salters and hearing some great inspirational tales, I just turned to her. She turned to me. There's no screaming. There's no throwing anything. There's just, we'll see you for Game 2. You know, we'll be there Sunday night, dude. I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm not throwing the towel in. I'm just venting.
Yes, Capitals fans over these next couple days before Game 2 will have to break out the old Swami Baha positive thinking records to go all slapshot on an early morning following a tough loss on Thursday night.
You see, you've made me laugh already, Ed Frankovic. So, you know, that's the tonic for what ails you. That and Pizza John's is all, you know, that's all you need to know, right?
Oh, I could go for some of that today for sure. Going to need that to get through the day. A tough late night down at the Capital One Arena, and let's be honest, the Capitals gave that game away. They had it there. It was all for the taking. They got a 5-minute major. They scored 2 goals on it, and granted they lost a defenseman who's played very well for them, and Michael Kempney, but they're still up 2-1, then 3-2 in the third period, and just the penalties they took there. 3 undisciplined penalties. I think you tweeted it out on WNST.net. I mean, WNST's Twitter feed. I know I retweeted it. You just can't take 3 undisciplined penalties in the third period of a playoff game and expect to still win. And
whether you're playing on home ice, frozen ice, the pond, at Annapolis, I mean, that's pretty fundamental hockey, right? I mean, it's like baseball. You know, you don't make 3 errors in the 8th and 9th inning and expect to give the other team outs. And, you know, playing shorthanded the whole third period. I mean, Ovechkin was gassed. I mean, you take away all of your strengths. I didn't like the way they played in overtime at all. I mean, it's just the Orlov giving it away at the end. They snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory because they got off to a nice start, man. I mean, like, that's a game they should win, Eddie.
Yeah, they should have, absolutely, Ness. They should have put them away. The first 30 minutes they played excellent. And tip your hat to Columbus's goalie, Sergei Bobrovsky, but also shame on the Capitals. It was too much perimeter hockey, and we talk about this a lot. There was not enough bodies going to the net. There wasn't enough traffic. When they did, they scored. Oshie going to the net on the first goal helped get the goal there, and just not enough bodies, too much perimeter play. I thought Ovechkin was arguably terrible, one of his worst games. I didn't think he was engaged. He didn't have his legs. He didn't have his hands. Orlov, yeah, one of the worst games he's played since October. It was definitely a factor on two of the 4 goals. He made 4 plays. It was, and I don't know if it was due to fatigue because they lost the defenseman, but they didn't look good at all. They looked sluggish. I didn't like the game-winning goal. I thought Grubauer should have had it. I thought he went down too soon. Just a lot of things I didn't like. I thought.
Let's go through what soup to nuts here, dude, because you and I haven't had at it since the beginning of the week, and Grubauer in the pipes. Sunday night, I'm assuming we'll see Holtby. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's going to be the roller coaster we're on here at this point because, Mike Tyson, right? Everybody's got a plan until the first punch comes, right? Well, the nose is definitely bloodied. This group knows all about that. This group knows being up 3-2 and believing they had a Series 1 in New York a couple of years ago. This group knows being down 3-2 and having their asses kicked and having to go to Pittsburgh and then just completely annihilating the Penguins and running them off the ice. I think you and I have been at this long enough. I mean, really, over our lifetime, Eddie, professionally, you and I, in knowing people in the game and your friendship with the Button family and our friendship with Coach Trotz and Dougie McLean and Gene Ubriaco and all the years we put into hockey, that Sunday night we're going to see a different game, right? I mean, like, these things really are sort of chapters in a book, but more like Pulp Fiction where the story sort of meanders. But I tell you what, there's not a whole lot good to report here for these 48 hours until the narrative changes. For all of the weight of being the Cubs of hockey, right? For all of the weight of Barry Trotz in 20 years and all of these wins and nothing gold or silver to show for it. Ovechkin, ditto. Backstrom, ditto. Leonsis rescuing the franchise from the abyss, bringing in this Russian kid, paying him money, firing coaches, coaches that prayed, coaches that bled, coaches that cursed. Now one who just leads sort of quietly in his own way, professionally. And now we're going to have a goaltender debate, right? So it's almost like who's going to pitch tonight and all of that. So all of this is at stake for all of their legacies. I mean, we've gone through this, that if they take a facer and the series is over next week and they lose in 5, Trotz is gone. Who knows? I mean, there's all sorts of things that will happen there, but turmoil will ensue. And right now, the first road to turmoil is, how do you piss away Game 1 after a 2-0 lead by taking 3 penalties at home in the third period, allowing a tying goal shorthanded, and then giving the game away in overtime? How do you respond to that? How do you come back from that? How do you come back and win a Stanley Cup? Or how does your fan base believe in that amidst $25 tickets on Sunday night, which I do appreciate because my wife's going to the game. But, this is where the horn sounds, right? This is where you find out. This is April, and this is where they're always going to be judged. All hockey teams.
Yeah, the black cloud is certainly out and looming large. There's going to be a lot of that negativity the next couple of days. It's just the nature of the beast when it comes to the Capitals in the playoffs and towards the goaltending end. Braden Holtby, and I wrote this out of WNST.net in my analysis of the loss on Thursday night. Braden Holtby's 14-4-2 lifetime against the Columbus Blue Jackets, which is one of the reasons I was kind of surprised he went to Grubauer for Game 1. I know Grubauer's been hot and Holtby's been up and down, but down the stretch I thought Holtby played better. Now, having said that, I thought Grubauer was good in the game until we got to until the game-winning goal. He made a big save when it was 3-2. When it's 2-2. Right before Jacob Verano makes a terrible giveaway in his own zone, and that was a theme for a lot of Capitals.
Well, they played upside down the whole third period. I mean, come on. And part of the reason they played upside down is they really played undisciplined hockey. I mean, doing the stick check, the slash thing, in Game 1, boy, come on, you got to know better. That's how you lose in the playoffs, period, right?
Yeah, my 8-year-old Mike knows you don't chase a guy behind the net, especially with a 1-goal lead with 5 minutes to go. And Burakovsky thinks he's going to catch Seth Jones, who you and I talked about last week. Seth Jones is going to be a superstar player in this league if he isn't already. He can skate like the wind. And Burakovsky thinks he's going to chase him behind the net, and then he's going to put his stick in there. And it was stupid hockey. They played stupid hockey. It was a lack of focus. They were undisciplined. And if this doesn't get their attention, why waste your time, right? They'll be out in 4 or 5 games and we'll move on with our lives. But these guys need to get their act together and figure out that, hey, you have to play hard. Columbus plays hard. We knew they were going to play hard. Coach John Tortorella demands it. He doesn't allow any of his guys to not work. And if you don't work, you're yanked off the ice. So the Capitals need to get a workmanlike mentality, and it starts with the captain. Ovechkin, I didn't think he was good at all in Game 1. I thought he floated through the game. He was missing nets on his shots. His hands were off. He wasn't moving his legs. I didn't think Oshie was very good, even though he factored in on the first goal. On and on and on. I can go down the list. I didn't think very many guys were good. I thought Kuznetsov was good. Unfortunately, he got whistled for a retaliatory penalty. Now, Columbus didn't score on that one, but that's one where he's got to keep his head too. But Tom Wilson.
Well, they add up. There's only so many penalties you're going to be out there killing, and so many minutes you're going to want to do that in a game that, quite frankly, shouldn't have turned to that, right? Like when you have a 2-0 lead at home, it's when you start to clamp down and, as you say, as Trotz say, play the game the right way. And certainly in the giveaway in the overtime is the exact textbook of what you mean by not playing the game the right way and getting caught shorthanded the wrong way with the wrong defenseman on the ice against their most creative player. I don't understand there why you don't take the body, to some degree, and ride him off the play, because one-on-one he's going to beat you. You got to stay between. You can't just let him go around you that way.
No, and Orlov's biggest weakness is turning. And, in that instance, he was on his wrong side, right? Again, this goes back to the 5 defensemen, and it's what you say, when you're down to 5 defensemen, you got to play extra smart, too. You can't be taking penalties, and they took the penalties, and they wore themselves down. You look at the overtime now, 0 shots on goal for the Capitals. 0. They look slow, they look tired, and that was a product of the penalties they took, because they had expended a lot of energy.
It felt like it was a matter of time. You know what I mean? It felt like the only way they're going to win is if they really get lucky to some degree, because Ovechkin looked gassed. I mean, I can only imagine my emotions for these games are not as high as they once were. Ed, speak to me about that. You were in the rink. I'm coming down Sunday night, but it's not so life and death to me because of the amount of disappointment, right? Like, so I'm not saying I'm setting up for disappointment. And I actually, on the way out to the Casey Cares function, I was listening to WNST to hear you and I even discussing in just the tonality and the quality of how we feel about it after all these years. I know you want your kids to have fun with it. I think we all want a parade. I want to drink out of the cup. I'm still cautiously optimistic even after losing game 1. But I'm not as emotionally as high or even as low today.
I'm the same way, Ness. I mean, I've come to just accept the way it is. And, my 8-year-old, though, having said that, went to bed apparently because I was at the game when they were up 2-0. And he comes down in the morning, and I had to break the bad news to him, and he just let out a yell and hit the floor and put his hands over his head. Couldn't believe it. But that's Capitals hockey, unfortunately. And
most kids don't believe anything their parents tell them.
They have got to find a way to change this narrative. I mean, it's just unacceptable to give a game away like they did in game 1. And, I put that on the leadership of the team. The leadership of the team needs to get it together. They need to come out with more authority. They did. I mean, the first 30 minutes they did, but then they just kind of lose their way. They lose their focus, and they lose that work ethic. And there's a lot of people complaining about, Jacob Braun only played 7 minutes. Well, when he was on the ice, he was effective. Now, granted, he did have the giveaway right before his goal that Grubauer bailed him out on. But when you take 3 penalties in the third period, that's almost 6 minutes of ice time off the rink. You're not going to be able to he doesn't kill penalties. You're not going to be able to get that speed guy out there and be able to challenge the other team. So you got to play smart, and they didn't play smart at all. It was just poor hockey. I mean, it was like they didn't realize they were in game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and that's a big giveaway. And home ice has been horrible to the Caps lately. They've lost 4 of their last 5 home playoff games. And Ness, you talk about the vibe, you can just feel it in there. There's not the positive energy. I watched the other games. You know me, I'm a hockey fan.
No, I mean, Winnipeg the other night was just filthy, right? Like Winnipeg.
Vegas.
Vegas was crazy
was
too.
Insane, the pregame and the energy they brought, and Vegas fed off that. This is their first game. You got to think these guys are nervous in the playoffs, and they just fed off the energy of the crowd and got that 1-0 lead and hung on. And I can't blame the crowd because the crowd was positive early. They were there for them, but then Columbus makes it 2-1, and you could just feel the energy drop. And it's
well, their building's going to be filthy, on Tuesday night. And look, I did this last year, right? Like in the Toronto series, I went up to Toronto for games 3 and 4. When you arrive, it's 1-1. When then Toronto gets the jump in game 3. Then they start to believe, and then it just becomes this. You're worn out by the time you see Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. That is what makes this tournament so evil, in a lot of ways, yeah. and that's why the beards grow and all of that. But it does add up. I believe they'll win Sunday. I believe they'll rebound. I believe they'll play better. But now the season sort of teeters that if they don't, then things get real sticky with the notion that this time next week we're talking about them being down 3-1 and then what? So the importance of Sunday night and this now decision that I don't know that Trotz has thrust it upon himself. Holtby's brought this upon the organization. And to your point, Grubauer played well enough to make an argument for him. I don't know. Look, I mean, this is why Trotz gets the big bucks, right? To say what's going on in the heads of these guys. How are they feeling physically? Where are they spiritually? How are their chakras aligned? That is the decision. Most of the time, it's not a decision for a coach. This has to be a decision, much like when you're picking quarterbacks in the NFL. It's not a good spot to be in because you really are guessing and feeling, and I guess that is the job to some degree. But when you choose wrong, we go the other way. I know one thing: Braden Holtby had no impact at all on Game 1, right? So we can't blame him anymore. I mean, I know the fan base loved blaming him back in the middle of the season, but nobody's going to blame him now.
Yeah, the fan base loves to blame, right? That's what fans are. I mean, Brian Billick always says players play, coaches coach, and fans fan. So they're fanatics. But it's a tough decision. I think I would go back to Holtby just because of the experience and the dominance he's had over the Blue Jackets. I was at the game in February when the Blue Jackets were all over him, and Holtby he held the fort. He held it down. And the other big factor is going to be Michael Kempny. Is he available to play? He didn't come back. He got run into the glass. It was a real cheap shot. It's a hit they're trying to take out of the game since you and I covered the game 33, 34 years ago. That's a hit. Checking from behind, when you see a guy's numbers, that needs to come out of the game. And that was an awful hit. And I couldn't believe there were people on Twitter saying that wasn't a bad hit. I mean, that's as textbook a checking behind major as there is. You hit the guy square in the numbers with your shoulder into the glass. He bangs his head on the glass, and he's bleeding. I mean, I don't know how anybody could argue that wasn't a 5-minute major. So, Kempney's going to be, if they have to put Christian Hughes in, that's a tough matchup because that's a physical team, and that's a team that goes to the net well. And Thomas Vanek even moved Brooks Orpik out on that second goal in front, and Niskanen was in bad position on that play as well on the penalty kill. So the Capitals are going to have some issues if they can't get Kempney back in the lineup because he certainly helps them get the puck out of the zone. They're going to have to put somebody with Carlson, whether it's Orpik or whether it's Hughes. It's just they need Kempney back, and these 2 days off really are going to help them. We won't know any status until, probably right up until game time on him. We'll see if he practices on Saturday. But he's got problems here because now he's got to figure out if maybe a goaltender change or not. He's got to figure out if he's got a defenseman that can play. I mean, this was kind of the worst case scenario. They lost one of their defensemen early because they don't have a lot of depth back there.
Well, there's no good news here. I mean, literally. I mean, through this, Ed Frankovic is with us. We're going to continue this conversation. I just want to insert. Tuesday night for Game 3, we're going to be out at Michael's Cafe in Timonium. I'm going to have a steak and a Cabernet. Win or lose, how about that? So come on out, Timonium Road. You guys know where it is. Delicious prime steaks. I'm going to get some of that split-level soup to start the party. The Orioles are playing the Tigers that night. We'll pray for good weather and decent pitching. And so you have 2 chances, right? It's kind of like at the racetrack, Eddie. It's like a daily day. You got 2 chances here. You get the Orioles and the Caps. Somebody's got to win, I hope. And I hope at least it's the Caps, because it's more important at this point. No disrespect to the Orioles and John Angelos, who's now running the team. Ed Frankovic can be found at Ed Frankovic on Twitter, as well as Ed at WNST.net. I want to run down a couple of our sponsors here, tell me what's going on, because we got hockey happening. Eddie and I are talking hockey. Luke and I are talking draft. Coach Billick and I were together on Thursday night on behalf of the Living Classrooms Foundation and our friends at Casey Cares. We're now doing the community and charity series on Thursdays. Very proud of it. I'm a couple of weeks into it. We're 8 deep. It's all brought to you by our friends at Howard Bank, a relentless commitment to being the best at everything they do. Branches throughout Baltimore and Maryland. You're finding them more and more on the business side of things here in Baltimore. Go to howardbank.com and learn more, as well as our friends at Cole Roofing. I was looking around for my Howard Bank mug. I couldn't find it. I have my Cole Roofing mug. I'm finishing up my Royal Farms Kona blended here this morning. Cole Roofing, they do commercial and corporate roof spaces. Bill Cole's been a fun guest to have around here. You probably heard him in morning or afternoon drive because he and I are having some spirited debates lately. You can find them at coleroofing.com as well as at Pfister Energy. He also gives me a nice mug to drink my Royal Farms coffee out of. Real fresh, real fast. The best fried chicken in the land, and those Western fries, they're even better when they're free, and you use the Rofo app on your mobile device. Download that. Use that when you pump your gas. You'll get your Rofo fries and your fried chicken for free when you use the app. Get the points, just like Justin Tucker tells you to do. Last but never least, the Maryland Jockey Club is our sponsor. The Tessio being run at Laurel next week. Stan Salter joined us this week. You can hear that in the buyatoyota.com audio vault, as well as that on our Facebook Live and our YouTube WNSTV page. The entries are on the front of WNST.net each and every day, as well as in the morning newspaper that is shipped to you each and every morning, courtesy of our friends at Planet Fitness at PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, guaranteed. Make sure you're doing that, checking out the Jockey Club, and getting ready for the Preakness. This guy's always ready for the Preakness, Ed Frankovic. Only thing that you love almost as much as hockey is horse racing, Eddie. And I know Eddie all check back, so we got to give a little nod there too, right? So, there have been some other stories here, right? I mean, Philadelphia getting waxed, Anaheim losing at home, the Vegas story, these other buildings getting all jacked up, but there's not a lot of good news to report here. But, I would say from your perspective on this, I don't think they're going out in 4 either. I'm not alarmed. They didn't play so poorly as to think they can't win. They played poorly enough at the end to tease you. That is the Caps, right? I mean, they're not necessarily not the better team here. They need some breaks and some bounces, and that certainly was not the kind of game we need to see on Sunday night.
No, the effort needs to be heavier. They need to get more speed in the game. They need to get more pucks and bodies to the net. It's a work ethic thing with these guys and a focus. And like you said, they weren't dominated. I felt like they gave the game away with the penalties and just the poor decision making. They looked tired. I'll throw out a positive stat here. The Capitals all time when losing the first game of the series are 10-7. So there's your positivity. There's your Swami Baha spin of the day, if you will. They just got to get back to work, and it starts with the captain. He's got to be better. He's had a great regular season, and he showed a lot of speed during the regular season, but he didn't look fast at all in Game 1. So I'm going to put it on him. I praised him when he did as well. It's time for him to step up and win a game because he hasn't done that in a while in the playoffs.
You were the one earlier in the week, and I had Carlin on. I did Ted Starkey this week. I'm hoping to save a bunch of my friends. That I reached to Kenny Albert in the 3rd round, right? Like that I reached to the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh media in the next, right? So I'm going to do a lot of hockey around here. Unless they don't play any hockey around here, right? So I'm trying to save a little bit of Locker and Beninati and stuff for an Alan May for further viewing. But everyone has said this week that this is a dangerous team for the Caps, that the Caps haven't matched up well recently. And then the thing that you've brought at it is Tortorella. And I can't help but see the smirk on the bench. There's a little more silver, going on now, and a little more statesmanship behind what used to look like, to me, Tortorella was almost like a bad guy wrestling manager, right? Like almost like a Bobby DeBrain or a Cornette or a Jimmy Hart. You know what I mean? Like that. That's sort of the personality that's built into this. That he sort of digs that you hate him. He sort of has some Ric Flair in him in that way, doesn't he?
There's no doubt, Ness. It's all contrived, as I said in our session earlier in the week. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knew even when the Capitals were up 2-0, he was already figuring out a way to whether he was working the referees, and the Capitals only got one more power play after that, and working his team to get back in it, and the Capitals had a chance to put their foot down and put them away, and they didn't do it. And that's what a team like Pittsburgh does, and that's why they continue to win. And a team like the Capitals tends to get a little laissez-faire and lets another team back in the game and then gifts it to them in the 3rd period. And Tortorella is going to feast on that. After the game, typical Tortorella, I'm not going to talk about the hit on Anderson because he knows he probably got some breaks too in the 3rd period. So, he knows what he's doing. He's experienced. He's won a Stanley Cup with the Lightning. He's had success against the Capitals. And Trotzy and Obi and these guys need to figure out a way.
They're all trying to get what he's got, literally, right? I mean, literally. I mean,
yeah, the guy knows how to win. He's abrasive. You don't like him. He does that on purpose. He knows how to take the pressure off of his team and put it directly on him. and players respond to that. And that's
that's a theatric you don't get everywhere, right? If Hitchcock is the other coach in the first round, that's not part of the narrative. You know what I mean? Like the narrative there is like really never much about the goalie or whatever, even though he's stunk in the past, right? Like he wants to be the lightning rod for some of that attention because they are the sleepy, quiet Columbus Blue Jackets. I mean, you know, who knows much about Panarin? I mean, really? I mean, right?
Right. I mean, the only people that watch the game really know, and we talked about him, but to your point on Bobrovsky, yeah, he's been horrible in the playoffs. And guess what? Capitals just gave that guy a ton of confidence. And they did exactly what they should have been doing. A lot of the shots came from the perimeter with no traffic. He got in a groove. I know the second goal he gave up to Kuznetsov, not a very good goal, but you can't really fault him on the other two. They were layups. And he got in a groove, and he got a little bit of confidence. So now the Capitals now made that boulder they got to push up the hill even harder because they got a goalie now that, hey, maybe I can play in the playoffs. And the Capitals let him off the hook. I mean, letting teams off the hook, I mean, that might be the future Capitals logo if they keep this up.
We are who they thought they were, or whatever Denny Green said. I don't know. Hey, probably not a good time to bring up what a good night Philip Forsberg had the other night, right? Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, he had two goals, one a highlight reel, and again,
dude, that was a sick goal, by the way, right? I mean, that's as good as it gets, right?
That kid's incredible. He's a great player. Should have never been traded. I wrote the day of the trade at WNST.net.
Oh, I remember how pissed you were that day. I remember you were spitting nails. We should all be so mad around here the day they give Machado away for the next Juan Bell, right?
Oh man, I mean that's one thing. You know, Cal Ripken was out at the Capitals game a week ago against the Predators.
I saw that,
and the media got a little chance to chat with Cal, and I actually asked him about Machado, and you know, did he reach out to you for shifting from third to second to shortstop like you did? And he said, well, I hadn't talked to Manny in a while, and somebody asked him, should the Orioles re-sign him and bring him back? And Cal was pretty blunt. He said, players like Manny Machado don't come around very often, so you want to do whatever you can to keep them around. So let's hope this Orioles ownership, heeds that advice and keeps him around. Because if you let a guy like Machado go, you're basically saying I don't want to win. That's the message I would get.
Hey Eddie, how old are your kids these days? I mean, I'm not being. I don't know all of their. You have a lot of kids. So how old are
my
they?
My daughter is going to be 12 this summer. She is a figure skater, and then my two boys are 8 and 6, and so they're having a pretty good battle because my 8-year-old is a diehard Caps fan, as you well know. He takes these losses hard. But for some reason, my 6-year-old, his favorite color is blue. His brother's favorite color is red. So he roots for the Blues and the Blue Jackets. So I got a 6-year-old that's happy this morning and an 8-year-old that's miserable.
Wow. I mean, what are you going to do about the 6-year-old? I mean, you fixing this, or what are you doing?
It's tough. I mean,
a kid's not going to be like a Yankees fan or something, right? Or like a Patriots fan.
No, thank goodness. I mean, at least
Cowboys?
He picks colors, right? Yeah, he's an Orioles fan, and actually his baseball team this year is the Orioles. So,
well, listen.
I made the joke.
Well, I mean, they're letting you in for free with your kids. Are you one of those people? Are people in your circle? I mean, your kids all go to school with other 8 and 6-year-olds. I mean, is this free baseball thing moving? I'm only asking. Like, I'm assuming at some point you and Karen will take because it's free. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, we're all trying to examine why people aren't going, and now, like, right in your wheelhouse is, I don't want to spend $36 a ticket on my 6-year-old or my 8. You don't have to do that anymore, but you didn't have to do that before. They had junior or they had ways for you to go to games on the cheap. I mean, with your kids, but this is their promotion. I don't see you like lined up to do 6 games this summer in some way.
Well, I didn't even realize they had this. So they have a new program where you can take your kids, if you buy tickets, adults buy tickets, kids get in free. Is this a new thing?
You really don't know about this?
I have not heard. So
well, you just heard. Okay, so see, I'm doing the marketing for John Angelos. You're welcome, for the Angelos family.
Yeah, it just shows you that they need to do a better job of marketing. Because I have not heard about this, and I follow them on Twitter and that stuff. I just haven't seen it. Yeah,
well, you're watching hockey every night, so you're not watching Jim Hunter and Mike Bordick.
Right. I mean, I haven't seen many Orioles games yet at this point. But so, what is the promotion?
You missed a couple of good ones last weekend against the Yankees. If your kids are under 9 or younger, And I don't know how they're going to examine your 6-year-old. Does your
They don't have a driver's license where you can check their ID, right?
I don't know, but this is the promotion, Ed. So yeah, go to Orioles.com and learn more about the promotion for kids. Is that good? We'll
that
see
was excellent.
you.
That was they should be paying you, but they,
that guy from Philadelphia that does the voices for all. Dude, I'm subjected to this every night. I have to watch Masson. I'm paying for it.
I did see a little of the series, but I mean, not enough of it. Like you said, right. I'm watching hockey. Not enough of it to see that promotion.
All right. Well, look, go back to figure skating, get ready for the Derby, get ready for the Preakness, get ready for Game 2. I'm coming down Sunday night to put my good – I've never really had any good luck with the Capitals. I've been there. I'd love to say that I'm the good luck charm, but, some would call me part of the problem. I don't think it's my fault. I mean, they were losing before Trotz came here. They lost when I didn't cheer for them, and they wore the St. Louis Blues uniforms back in the Susan O'Malley in the dark ages. But yeah. So I'm all on board. We'll be there Sunday night, rooting, rocking our red, and hoping that I'm not on New York Avenue at 10:45 on the way home saying, how are they down 0-2? How is that possible? I don't think that's going to happen. I'm optimistic they're going to win on Sunday night.
They can't let that happen. And what was the line from Major League, since I'm quoting movies today? Somebody needs to cut the head off of a live chicken to break this curse or something. We need something because no one can say they're good luck anymore. It's got to be something
It's
different.
very bad to drink my rum. I don't know. Machine took our quarter. Got any root beer? All right. Do some slap shot. Hey, by the way, last thing for you, the Humboldt thing's really been humbling, man. I mean, it's all over my timeline. Maybe I have a whole lot more hockey friends or Canadian friends or people in touch with it. But, a tragedy's still a tragedy in Canada. We get people shot up in this country, and you don't even see the kind of support that that you're seeing for these kids through hockey. I know you put your sticks out. Your kids are asking about it, and I think anybody in the hockey community, it's really been it's been a hell of a coming together for the hockey community.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people who don't even follow hockey reach out to me after seeing the social media posts, but. 16 people now lost in that tragic event. And it's so horrible. I'll be honest with you, it's been so horrible and so tragic. I can't even read about it. It just hurts so bad.
I mean, I'm sort of that way when people bring out machine guns and mow down children too. So, and concert goers in Vegas. I mean, I think we all get numb to it, but in Canada, they're not numb to this. I guess that's my political point for today, is in Canada when 15 kids die in a bus go, the whole country stops because that's a tragedy. Here we just kind of what did the president say? Who's tweeting what? Who got traded? What do the Kardashians do? I think there it's just a little different, and I think that hockey's a little different. Canada's a little different, and I think those of us who listen to Geddy Lee and who understand the Canadian culture a little bit really understand and can see that this week. But boy, Canada and the U.S. are different places, right? Like they are. They really, really are. And this Humboldt thing would really separate that between the cultures, I think.
It's just horrible. It's just a horrible, tragic event, and the hockey community, like you said, is very tight, and they've come together. And you've seen, even the American hockey community's been right there. They had a 50-50 raffle at the Caps game on Thursday night, and the 50% of the proceeds went to the Humboldt Broncos. So it's terrible. I mean, like the bridge collapse in Florida, right? The university, 6 people died. It's like, how do these things happen? And it's just sad. It is really sad, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. I haven't even read the details on the accident. I just can't even. Well,
they misidentified one of the children. Yeah, I mean, it's been difficult. It's been difficult. That's all I can say. So, but I've been following it because I probably have too many cool Canadians on my timeline. I don't know. Hey, man, be well. Take care of yourself. Rest up. Get the 6-year-old in line. Everything's going to be okay. Get the 8-year-old line. Everything's going to be okay. Tell them the Orioles want to have them for free with the bird, and we'll tell you more about that at Orioles.com. Ed, we'll see you soon, man. Be well.
See you Sunday, my friend.
Rest up. He is Ed Frankovic, Ed at WNST.net, the way to find him as well. All of our WNST coverage brought to you by our friends at Fremont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. You need the right lender. That's Carl Delmont. He joined us earlier this week, talked some soccer. We do have the World Cup coming up in June, so even though it's being played in Russia where, Liberty was born and Patriots breed, I'll be watching the World Cup, even though it's pretty clear the Russians bought this thing off, but isn't that what they do at the World Cup and at FIFA? But I digress to Fremont Mortgage, where they treat you right. If you're in the market to buy, sell, maybe refinance, just get some good, solid, accurate information. You need Fremont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Fremont Mortgage. You can learn a whole bunch up there. Click around a little bit of Fremont Mortgage U and check that out. And congratulations to the Celtic soccer team as well. And I don't know what we're going to do without I'm adopting Iceland. That's all I keep saying. I'm rooting for Iceland. I'm going to pick 5 other countries that I'm going to root for that I had a good time in. So I've never really had a good time in Iceland. I've never really been outside of the airport in Iceland. If they make it to the 16, I'll change that. How about that? Costas in, good enough for the Today Show, good enough for my mom, the fat crabs, the cold beer. I'm hoping the Caps play long enough that I can watch a Caps game at Costas. That's my plan, is to go over to Costas and crack some crabs, have several beverages, and enjoy some Capitals hockey, maybe into the evening. Costas in, great place to do that on the east side too, and watch the Orioles on every night at Costas Inn. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.